Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the third virtual meeting of the Historic Districts Review Board. Today, we are May the 26th, 2020, and a couple of reminders. If you are an applicant, remember to sign in as an attendant. Also, if you're calling by phone, remember to press *9 to get connected. This meeting is now called to order. Melissa, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Chair Rios.
Here.
Vice Chair Katz.
There.
Member Beachside.
Here.
Member Buenvenu.
Here.
Member Guida.
Here.
Member Larson.
Here.
Member Roybal, and he's excused. Thank you, Madam Chair. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Melissa. Are there any changes to this evening's agenda, board members or staff?
None from staff, Madam Chair.
There appear to not be any changes. Is there a motion to approve the agenda in a second?
So moved. Second.
Voice vote, please.
Member Beachside.
Yes.
Member Buenvenu.
Yes.
Vice Chair Katz.
Yes.
Member Guida.
Yes.
Member Larson.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome.
Next, we have minutes of the meeting of May 12th, 2020. Are there any changes to those minutes, board members or staff? Any changes?
Move
Okay,
to.
I have some. Did I hear? Member Benvenu. He has his hand up.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. On page 11, I would ask for the following revision to the minutes. At the third paragraph from the top, Member Bienvenu, strike the word confirmed and replace it with questioned whether.
Okay.
And on page 19, on the sixth paragraph, it says Member Bienvenu confirmed, and after the word confirmed, add the words, he understood the explanation to be.
Okay.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. I have a couple of changes, I think 4 in total. And the first one is on page 10. That would be under questions for staff. Third paragraph down should read as follows. Chair Rios asked to confirm the maximum allowable height of 15 feet 9 inches and asked if the applicant was asking for an additional 4 feet due to sloping changing of slope.
Okay.
Okay. The next one is on page 17. And that would be the 9th paragraph down under questions for staff. And that should read, Chair Rios asked staff to comment on the plastic windows on the building.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Page 26. That would be under board discussion, third paragraph down. Chair Rios added a friendly amendment to use raw steel spindles on the balconies.
Okay.
And the last one is on page 39. And that it would be under board discussion, fourth paragraph down. Chair Rios commented, the casita was never a garage, comma, to the best of her recollection.
Okay.
And board members, anyone else having changes? Let me look. I'm in a different area of the house today, and I don't know this crazy stuff that I have works as well as in my other place. But anyway, there appear to not be any more changes. So is there a motion to approve the minutes as just amended?
I would move to approve the minutes, which were very well done. Thank you, Melissa, as amended.
Did I hear a second?
Second.
A voice vote, please.
Yes. Member Beachside.
Yes.
Member Buenvenu.
Yes.
Vice Chair Katz,
Yes.
Member Guida,
Yes.
Member Larson.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you. Next, we have findings of fact and conclusions of law. There are 7 board members and staff. Are there any changes to any of these? There appear to be none, no changes. Is there a motion to approve in a second?
So moved.
Second.
Voice vote, please.
Member Beachide,
Yes.
Member Buenvenu,
Yes.
Vice Chair Katz,
Yes.
Member Guida,
Yes.
Member Larson.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you very much. Board members, I'm going to ask you, when you make a motion, this is so that we have an accurate record. Just say your name right before you make the motion, kindly, please. Thank you. Do we have any business from the floor? We have Stephanie Benenato has her hand up. Stephanie, good evening. What do you have to tell us this evening?
Good evening. First of all, I thought I saw online that you were doing video participation. So I hope that will happen at the actual cases. And also I noticed that if you want to make written comments, you actually have to make it the day before the agenda comes out. So I don't know how anybody would be able to make written comments to this board when the deadline is the Thursday before the meeting. And again, your agendas are put out on Friday afternoon. So I'm bringing that to your attention so that you perhaps will get a little more participation if you make it possible for people to respond to, the agenda and the submittals. Thank you.
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair, may I respond to that comment?
Yes, please. I was going to say that we, as board members, we don't have a say in terms of the video participation, but staff or the city attorney, can you comment on this?
I will happily comment on this. The agenda is actually posted 15 days prior to the hearing. It's not posted the Thursday or the Friday before the hearing.
Okay.
It's posted 2 weeks prior to the hearing. And the packet itself does not go online until the Thursday before the hearing. But the agenda is posted well in advance.
Oh,
In terms of the public comments are set by the Open Meetings Act. Those deadlines are set by the city attorney's office. So I don't have anything to do with those. And I am not aware of anything online that says we are going to be allowing video participation from the floor. We have not been instructed to that effect by the city attorney's office. And as far as I am aware, the Open Meetings Act does not require video participation. It is a logistical challenge to allow every member of the floor who wants to speak and wants to be seen on video to be moved over to the panel every time they wish to speak. And I have been instructed that as the host of this hearing, I get to make that determination about whether or not I choose to do those logistics, and I am going to choose not to do that.
I would just like to be able to say that online at cityofsantafe.gov Historic Districts Review Board, it says a person attending the Zoom meeting by video conferencing may provide public comment during the meeting.
Yes, so they may provide public comment.
It doesn't, but it says by video, not just by phone, not just by audio.
It does not say.
It does. It says
Respectfully.
by video. I'm looking at the webpage right now. And the other thing is, even though the agenda might be up 15 days, if the packet isn't there and you can't actually see what's being proposed, you actually don't get the packet until the Friday. So Thursday is the deadline for a written comment, and you actually don't get to see the packet, which is what you have to see to be able to, knowledgeably comment. So the agenda is nice 15 days ahead, but the packet is the important part. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And as I said last time, I believe Stephanie brought this up last time about video participation. I think the more important thing is to have the audio participation. If we can hear people, that to me is more important.
And in fact, that is what is required by the Open Meetings Act, as I have been instructed by the city attorney's office. And what is online, which is what is on our agenda, is that a person attending online can be heard at the hearing, and that is what we're doing.
Thank you. Next, we have communications. Do we have anything under communications, Lisa?
We do not, Madam Chair.
Well, I'd like to say something. I don't know if you all saw in today's newspaper, they had an article in reference to the Preservation Awards. So I'll encourage all of you to read that. And it really was a nice article talking a little bit about why it's important to have people such as us, the volunteers that are on city boards, to keep the beauty of Santa Fe going as far as the built environment is concerned, to preserve and protect, as we all know. So I'd encourage you to read that article. And if there's nothing else, we will go to action items. Moving right along. We have 5 cases this evening, and I do have to inform you about appeals. If you decide that you didn't like a decision that this board rendered this evening, you do have the option to appeal, and you'd be appealing to the city council. And you do have time constraints, and that would be 15 days after the findings of fact and conclusions of law have been approved. This evening also, in reference to public comment, I will limit the time to 2 minutes. And Lisa, or somebody, can you help me with that?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. You could just indicate 2 minutes up. You can just say that vocally.
Okay.
Okay. Hold on a little smidgen. The first case this evening is located at 448 Camino, Monte Vista. This is a non-contributing home, and Lisa, may we hear your report, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. First, may I ask the applicant, Mr. Enfield, if there's anyone else from the attendee list that should be promoted to a panelist at this time? Eric? Okay, we'll proceed with the report. If there's someone else who needs to be promoted to speak to this case, I can do so afterwards. So, Madam Chair, members of the board, 448 Camino, Monte Vista. Sorry, let me make sure my controls are up. 448 Camino, Monte Vista is an approximately 5,500 square foot single family residence constructed in approximately 1985 to 1991 and designed by architect Charles R. Dupuy Jr. as a contemporary or postmodern expression of territorial revival style. It is listed as non-contributing to the downtown and Eastside Historic District. The partial 2-story residence features brick coping at the flat roofed areas and a sawtooth gable clear story elsewhere, as well as white wooden window and door trim with pedimented surrounds. An approximately 850 square foot non-contributing accessory structure, casita, is also present on the property. A low white wooden picket fence fronts Camino, Monte Vista. Staff was able to locate no records of any alterations that have been made since the home's original construction. At the April 28th hearing of the HDRB, the applicant received approval to perform a variety of exterior alterations, including window and door changes, demolition of portals, modification of walls, adding rooftop solar panels and skylights, construction of 4 small additions at the main house, and modifications to the casita. Now the applicant returns with a proposal to satisfy the following conditions associated with the previous approval. Item 1, or condition 1, that an exception be requested for the undivided light window and door on the north elevation. Condition 2, that the applicant return with a revised fence and gate design for the north street frontage. Condition 3, that the applicant work with staff to depict the arrangement of solar PV panels on the south elevation. And condition 4, that the north elevation be reduced, or the north addition be reduced by 4 inches to accommodate an existing adjacent window. To address these conditions, the applicant proposes the following. The applicant requests an exception to have an undivided window and French door on the north elevation of the main residence. There are a combination of divided and undivided windows on the home presently, and exception criteria and responses are included in this report. Item 2, the applicant proposes to retain the white picket fence at the north street frontage and gates associated with that fence. And a new vehicular gate design is proposed. The pedimented arch over the existing vehicular gate will be removed and improved for vehicular access onto the property. And the new gate design mimics the pediment shape of the archway that will be removed. Let me see if I can get to, there we go. And item 3, the applicant will continue to work with staff to present and review the configuration of solar panels on the south elevation of the main residence. And item 4, the applicant has presented revised drawings reflecting the minor reduction in the previously approved north addition to the main residence. And so staff recommends that the criteria for an exception have been met and recommends approval of the proposed project in compliance with section 14-5.2 D and E. And I stand for questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Lisa. So you do agree with all 3 criteria, correct?
I do, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Board members, are there any questions for Lisa at this time? Here's like, just a minute. Let me see if there are. No questions for Lisa. Applicant or applicants, please get sworn in.
Is John Horton up on?
I'm happy to promote him to the.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Lisa. You know what? I had on mute.
That's okay.
Hi, good evening, gentlemen and ladies. Thanks for hearing me tonight.
Mr. Infield, I will go ahead and swear you in. Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your full name and address for the record.
It's Eric Infield, 612 Old Santa Fe Trail, Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Hi, Eric.
Hey, how are you all today?
We're good. What do you have to tell us about this case?
Well, we fell in love with the picket fence, also like Jennifer, so we kept the picket fence.
Oh, I am so happy. I just want to tell you, and would you?
I think it looks great.
To the
I think it looks
applicant,
great. I like
to
the
the
gate a
owner?
lot. Let me just tell you a little bit about the gate though, because what we found, and Lisa, did you have that photograph I'd sent you? What we found was that whole
sure do.
pediment that was added on the back was added at a later date. And we've got a photograph showing how it was tacked into the back. And I think when we take this wood frame and that garage door off, we're going to find the original brickwork behind it where they just stuccoed into it. And so I think this is a nice solution. And honestly, my client wanted to be a little playful with the gate. So we put the pediment on the gate and I think it looks fine. I'm happy with it.
Okay, good. It's looking good. I'm glad we have the discussion that we did. And that's what I always say. Sometimes an applicant will come forward and not everything is what the board
Right up
might
to
feel. Well, what maybe what the ordinance calls for or what the board feels would perhaps be an improvement. And I think that the applicant listened well this evening. And I hope you heard me when I said that thank you. Please thank the applicant for keeping that fence. I think that's a good move.
He's okay with it. I think he realized that it kind of is part of the neighborhood at this point, but he did want to change the gate. And also, I just want to tell you, I think that on these windows, you're going to have other cases like this where you have windows that were approved that were undivided and divided by previous boards. And it really doesn't bother me that much that some of the windows are undivided versus divided on this house. And I think the windows that are divided were done for a reason. you know, and that was, here's the public space, public, these are more private spaces kind of thing. But anyway, I'm ready to answer any other questions if the board has any, and just appreciate you hearing us tonight.
Okay, thank you. Board members, do any of you have any questions for Mr. Enfield? It appears that there are no questions.
Oh, thank you all so much.
Let me see if there's any public comment. Any public comment? Stephanie Benenato, you have the floor.
Thank you. Do I need to be sworn in?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Okay.
You swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you. Please state your full name and address for the record.
Stephanie Benenato, PO Box 1601, Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Thank you.
I think I'm happy that they kept the picket fence as well. The gate is, I think, somewhat better looking than what it was there. However, I don't really feel like they met the exception criteria, and I guess I'm not really sure if it's a non-contributing house because it's not old enough. Is this a contributing house?
No, it is not.
Okay, so then I'm not really sure why they need an exception, given it's a non-contributing house. But if they do, I don't think that they've met the exceptions, because really not harming the public welfare is not the same as preventing a hardship to the public welfare. And certainly it doesn't prevent a hardship to them to have a door as opposed to a window, because windows can also meet egress. And I can understand sort of the parallel between the door with the lights on each side, and this door, the sort of mimicking of it. But I would really suggest either a much more substantial lintel in the same design as over the door, but really what I would really strongly ask for is the same lintel over the windows and over what is the existing opening at that wall. I think it really does make a difference. And again, I think it would just retain some more of the character of the house. Thank you.
Thank you. There appears to be no more public comment. And let me see if any board members have anything further to say. And by the way, if you have a home, whether it's historic or non-historic, in this district, if the windows are publicly visible, they are required to be divided. And that's why this applicant, even though this is a non-historic home, that's why the applicant had to come forward with exceptions. Board members, it appears that you have no questions or comments, and I would entertain a motion, please. Remember, please say your name, and seconder, say your name, and go ahead with a motion. And remember, also, you have to indicate that if you're going to make a motion to approve, you have to indicate that the applicant did meet all the criteria responses. I will entertain a motion.
This is Frank, and I would move to approve the application per the recommendation of staff and make a finding in accordance with staff's recommendation that the criteria for the exception have been met.
Member Benvenu,
I second.
is there any further discussion, on this? There being no discussion, a voice vote, please.
Yes. Member Beechey,
Yes.
Member Buenvenu,
Yes.
Member Guida,
Yes.
Vice Chair Katz,
Yes.
Member Larson.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you
Hey,
very much.
thank you all
Thank you
so
very
much, and you have a great night.
Okay, you too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Next case is 535 Douglas Street.
Cecilia.
This is a contributing building by Daniel. Daniel is the staff person that is supposed to give the report.
Madam Chair, Madam
Yes.
Chair, the applicant has requested that this case be postponed until the following hearing.
Okay, did the applicant indicate for the following hearing, which is what, June
June 9th.
9th? Is there a motion to postpone this case to June 9th? Member Katz? Unmute.
I would move to postpone till June 9th.
Member Guida?
I'll second.
Thank you. Voice vote?
Member Beachside,
Yes.
Member Bonvenu,
Yes.
Member Guida,
Yes.
Vice Chair Katz,
Vice Chair Katz?
Yes.
Member Larson.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you very much, Melissa. Next case is located at 970 Acequia Madre. And this is a contributing building, and this is Daniel's case. Daniel, may we hear your report, please?
Madam Chair, 970 Acequia Madre is a single-family residence listed as contributing to the downtown and Eastside Historic District. The property consists of two structures, a main house and a guest house. Both have contributing status. On May 12th, 2020, in case 2020-2009 HDRB, the HDRB designated the facades 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 19 on the main house, and the north-facing facades of the casita as primary. The main house was originally a 3-room residence built in a below grade dating from before 1940 and was augmented by 4 rooms, probably in the 1960s. It is a flat roof structure in a Pueblo Revival style with parapets, canales, vigas, and 2 chimneys. Windows of the older part have pedimented trim, including a set of French doors opening onto the patio on the west facade. The guest house is of a similar style, built in the 1950s. Publicly visible is the north facade, which contains a large plate glass window, probably dating from the mid-1960s to the 1970s, and a newer window to the left of it. On May 12, 2020, in the same case, the HDRB designated the facades, all the north-facing facades of this structure are designated as primary. The applicant now proposes the following on the main house. Item 1, raise the kitchen roof and clerestories facing west to 11 feet above grade. The maximum allowable height is 16 foot 3 inches. Item 2, raise the stuccoed portions on the existing chimneys to cover more of the clay flue tile at the rear of the house. Item 3, replace the large pane windows on facade 8 with divided light windows in an aluminum clad in a turquoise color. These windows are not on primary facades and changing them is permissible. Item 4, construct a 9-foot tall wood ramada from pine 8x10 lumber on the northeast corner in front of facades 1 and 19, finished in a medium brown stain. This will not be attached to the main structure and thus does not constitute an alteration to primary facades. On the casita, the applicant proposes the following. Item 1, replace the north-facing window in the casita bedroom with a wooden door with vertical slats painted turquoise and aged in appearance of the same width as the current window to provide legal egress. This change requires an exception as it involves altering a window opening on the primary north-facing facade of this casita. The responses to the exception criteria are included in this report. Item 2, re-roof the existing house with a 60 mil tan TPO. And item 3, repair and re-stucco to match existing cementitious stucco El Rey Adobe color. Finally, the applicant proposes to install a 48-inch high pair of black wrought iron vehicular gates. They should be on the bottom left of the elevation diagram, with vertical thin vertical square elements placed 4 inches apart and horizontal top and bottom rails of the driveway. This will be attached to the ground using posts and will not be affixed to the contributing wall. Staff recommendation, staff recommends that all the exception criteria have been met and recommends approval of the proposed project in compliance with section 14-5.2. And I stand for questions.
Thank you, Daniel. Let me see if anybody has any questions. Board members, do you have any questions for Daniel?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Katz.
Daniel, on the guest house, on the north facade of the guest house, on the last page of our materials, I think it
Yep.
shows that the picture window is being turned into a, and it doesn't show it on that.
Excuse me, the picture window is remaining.
Okay,
It looks like, there appears to be a mistake in the proposed guest house plan, but if you look at the elevation, you'll see that the picture window will remain.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? None at this time. Let me see. I just want to remind board members, the casita, the primary facade is the north facing facade. And in the main house, it's 1 through 6 and 19. I will open it for public comment. Anyone from the public wishing to comment? We have Stephanie Benenato. And she has been sworn in. Stephanie, you have the floor.
Thank you. First of all, on the casita, I keep wondering if a window, a big enough window, wouldn't serve the purpose for legal egress. It does not need to be a door unless they've changed code very recently and saying that they all have to be doors. The fact that you can't see it doesn't impress me very much, because what you are doing is changing that primary facade. And if the fence goes away, you do see it, and you are taking away historic material. The thing about with the Ramada, I understand it's not attached to a primary facade, but it is in front of 2 primary facades. And so I'm hoping that the board would ask that they situate it, locate it in such a way that it doesn't get too close actually to the primary facade, so it doesn't overwhelm it just by its presence in front of it. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have no other people wanting to public comment. And next we have the applicant or applicants. They need to get sworn in.
Thank you. This is Mr. Purvis. Is his microphone on?
Chris, are you there?
I just
I
moved
am.
him to the
Oh,
panel.
yes, he is. Chris, would you
Right.
get sworn in, please?
Thank you.
Yes.
Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your full name and address for the record.
Christopher Purvis, 222 East Marcy, Suite 19.
Thank you.
Hi, Chris. Hope you're doing well.
Thank you, Madam
You have
Chair.
to tell us about these 2 projects. Well, 1 project, 2 main house and casita.
Madam Chair and Mr. Katz pointed out that the plan is incorrect on the casita. I failed to change it, and we weren't planning to change that window. We were originally planning to change the window, but when casita became contributing, we decided to leave the plate glass window alone because we thought it might be historic. The window that we are proposing to replace is non-historic. I think we pointed that out back when we were making the building contributing. That window, even though it's on a primary elevation, has insulated glass in it, was clearly installed in the probably 80s, maybe even 90s, based on the thickness of the mullions and the fact that it was a TDL insulated light. And that's really the only clarification I wanted to provide. I stand for questions.
Board members, any questions for Mr. Purvis? Let's look and see. It appears that there are, oh, there is a question. Jennifer Beachside,
Thank
you have the
you.
floor.
I wonder, Chris, if you might speak to the design details of the pergola. As Ms. Bidinato pointed out, it does stand in front of two primary facades, and I know we've approved these before, and one case stands out in my mind. It's visible from Alameda, and I see it often, and that one is not placed close to the contributing house, but it is of such a light stain color that it really stands out. It's a light pine. So I wonder if you can talk to us about the stain color and about what impact you think the design of that pergola will have on the primary facades.
Member Beachhead, the stain color on the is a medium brown, which basically should background into the adobe stucco behind it. So it's designed to kind of blend in, and we kept the formwork of the Ramada as simple as we could. It's just square beams and square posts. The idea being that it just doesn't really conflict and or stand out from. The idea is just that it would blend in. Although, by keeping it a foot, it's actually a foot and a half away from 19, the idea is that the sunlight can get in and around it so that it doesn't actually impede your view of it. And only those 4 posts are the ones that are actually in the way.
Anything else, Member Beachside? Oh, she has her, it appears there are no other, let's see. Member Guida.
Hi, Chris. I don't have an issue with the placement of the Ramada. To me, it's where it needs to be functionally. You've divorced it from the building, and I think, I'm happy to know that it's, we're not going to confuse it with historic material. We've seen other structures like this that have been done out of steel that have similarly kind of pulled away from the facade or primary facade of a historic structure. I guess I'm curious about the size of the members, particularly the 8x10 rafters on this. And I was just, we have the plan to go on and orthographic elevations. I'm curious about the impression of mass with this thing and your thoughts, and maybe even if you have any notes about something similar that we can recall.
Member Guida, I don't know if I can point you to a similar one, but you know how the lumber around here shrinks and fails over time. So these are deliberately oversized so that they won't move, won't twist, won't rot immediately, because we don't. On the other hand, they are, to me, more of a reference to what we might have done with, logs or vigas back in the old days, when somebody was using these as traditionally they were used to, store stuff up on top of. So that's the form I'm using, although deliberately in a kind of square, more modern piece of lumber.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other members having questions or comments? It appears not. Chris, I do want to thank you for something that you always do, and I've been pushing this for ages, and not everybody does it, but having the existing and the proposed on the same page, the existing elevations and the proposed. So thank you for always doing that, Chris. Board members, I will entertain a motion at this time. Member Guida, you have your hand up.
Sorry, I wasn't ready to make a motion.
Okay. And remember, there are exceptions in this application. Will somebody please raise their hand and make a motion? Member Katz. Frank, unmute your mic.
About the window.
Okay, excuse me, Frank, would you start that over again? You had your mic muted and we didn't hear what you said at the outset.
I have a question about the window that's turning into a door in the guest house. And what is the reason for that?
Chris, can you answer that?
Member Katz, Madam Chair, the reason for that is that as it's currently configured, that room actually only is able to get out through the bathroom. So it also doesn't meet egress. So that's the only window, that's the only opening from that room. And it doesn't meet egress and you can't get out of the room without going through the bathroom.
Okay, thank
So-
you. That makes sense.
Okay,
With
board
that-
members, last time, any other questions? If not, a motion is in order.
I would,
Member Beachside.
Sorry, not to belabor the point about the pergola, but I noticed the casita has a pergola. Is that historic, or what do you know about that? It looks like it's made of maybe smaller rounded vigas than is proposed for the new one.
Member Beachhead, that at the risk of guessing, that looks like a more modern addition. If you look at the photographs, it looks, the bark's still on it. It looks like something that somebody did, you know, in the last 10 years. But I really don't know.
Is it the same height as the new pergola?
It looks like it's a little lower. Partly because the members are skinnier.
Right, thank you.
There is a photograph in the packet on page 28.
Thank you, Daniel. If you look
Madam
at,
Chair, Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
yes, please.
It's a question of the board really, and that is it's more of a request that as part of the motion, if the board wishes to approve the application, to request that we receive elevation drawings of the proposed pergola so that we can verify height and dimensions.
All right, thank you for that. I think the board members are really pretty good about that, and thank you for reminding us, Lisa. Board members, again, if there are no further questions or comments, I will entertain a motion, please. Member Katz.
Yes, in this case, I would move to approve the application. I would make the finding that the criteria for the exception for the change of the door or the window to a door have been met pursuant to the findings of staff and with the additional information that we just got from the applicant that really provides the only entrance except through the bathroom to that room. And I would make as a condition that the applicant provides drawings showing the pergola proposed for the main house with the dimensions.
Thank you. Member Beachside?
I'll second with a friendly amendment that the proposed floor plan for the casita be revised and resubmitted to reflect the retention of the plate glass window.
Yes, that's good.
Voice vote, please.
Member Beachside,
Yes.
Member Avenu,
Yes.
Member Guida,
Yes.
Vice Chair Katz,
Yes.
Member Larson.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
The next case is, and you know what? I hadn't been saying the case number, so sorry. Is case number 2020-00-2040. This is located at 715 Manhattan Avenue. It's a contributing building. And Daniel, can we hear your report, please?
Madam Chair,
Madam-
may I, before the report, may I ask which attendees should be moved to the panel?
Robert J.
This is
Oh,
Manhattan.
excuse me, Christina Purdy.
Okay. And that's it?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, Daniel, go ahead.
715 West Manhattan Road is a single-family rectangular one-story residential structure designated as contributing to the West Side Guadalupe Historic District. It was built in a simplified Spanish Pueblo revival style by 1928 from adobe with yellow tan stucco. The applicant requests designation of primary facades in advance of an application for a remodel. The most character defining feature is the flat roof porch hall with 5 archways at the south front facade, facade number 1. The other facades being very plain. The archways, according to the HCPI from 1996, though historic, are probably not original. The porch hall has a white wood board ceiling. The white iron archway grills were installed after 1996. The front door is a non-historic 10-light French door behind a non-historic metal glass door. And the windows are non-historic aluminum sliders that replace the original 6/6 double-hung wood-painted windows since 1996. Facade 2 West has limited public visibility from the driveway. It has simple stucco massing with a parapet that descends stepwise towards the rear. The windows are non-historic aluminum sliders. The door is a possibly historic 30-inch door with 4 lights with an aluminum door in front. Facade 5 is a porch that has been enclosed with wood paneling and large aluminum sliding windows at a non-historic date. Facade 6 and 7 are non-historic washroom shed with a shed roof and stucco walls. Facade 8 is again a simple stucco massing with a parapet and 2 aluminum sliding windows that are not publicly visible. Staff recommends that the historic of the status of the structure being maintained as contributing, and staff recommends designation of the south-facing facade, facade number 1, as primary, excluding the non-historic door and windows. And I stand for questions.
Thank you, Daniel. Board members, are there any questions for Daniel at this time? Member Beachside?
Thank you. I have 2 questions. One is that both the east and west facades present a stepped parapet that I don't believe is captured on the south. And I think that that is a fairly unique characteristic. I wonder if you could comment on that. And then the second question is about the low yard wall in front of the south facade. Have we determined if that is historic? And what do we know about the gate?
To answer your questions, I would maybe defer to the division manager about whether this is a special stepping that you see here. I'm not quite versed enough to be able to say that. And the wall, just having a look at it, I'm not sure whether it is historic. It is certainly in the 1985 Higbee. I'm not sure that it's included in the historic status.
Thank you. Jennifer, good point in reference to the wall. I think that it's always important to address walls because we want to make sure that if it is a historic wall, we do want to preserve that. So that is a good point. Any other questions for Daniel at this time? Member Larson.
Yeah, thank you. I actually just had more of a comment in reference to what Jennifer was mentioning with the yard wall. I do think that this height is rather unique, and it does capture that what will probably be considered a primary facade. And I think it is important that we include it.
Thank you. Member Beachside, did you have something further?
Sorry, I just wanted to offer an opportunity to Lisa if she had more to comment on about the parapet.
Madam Chair, Member Beachside, I would say that the step in this parapet is a characteristic feature of the house, but it is at the board's discretion whether or not they feel that feature should be included or captured on a primary facade as worth preserving for this particular house.
Thank you. And yes, Member Beachside.
Sorry, the reason I ask is I believe on the same street, and maybe even next door, there's a house that we looked at before that has a similar stepping. And I recalled, I believe that we designated that facade as primary in order to capture that. But I may be wrong.
Thank you for your comments. Lisa, in reference to the wall, that was not part of the application as, I mean, it wasn't advertised, or I don't know if we really know the history of it, but Daniel, is that wall, can we go forward in terms of the wall and its historicity, Lisa, and designating it, perhaps? Or Daniel?
Madam Chair, I believe if there is additional information that can confirm its date of construction, the board can designate that status for that wall if they wish. We have noticed primary facade designation for a contributing residential structure, and essentially for a wall, if you wish to make it, it's a little bit different of a structure because you're basically making it a primary facade.
Exactly. So can we go forward on that, or will they have to come back to us with more solid information?
You can if you wish. I don't know if it is a necessary part of the application or not.
Thank you. Daniel, what is the height? Do you know the height of the wall?
It's about 3 feet high.
And I think that would be something that would be very common. Most people, when they would build houses, they would usually put a fence, or they would put a short wall to just delineate their property line. Would you agree with that?
Yes, it delineates the house from the street. Yeah, it's right on the sidewalk.
And usually the houses in that neighborhood originally really had low walls. So anyway, board members, do you have further questions or comments? Member Benvenu.
Yes, I just had a question for Daniel and or Lisa. It seems to me, I'm struggling with the idea of the primary facade criterion and the character defining features. It seems to me that it seems like the staff recommendation is that the facades other than one are not character defining because they're plain, but couldn't that in fact be what makes them, couldn't that be the character defining trait of those facades? That they're plain stucco massing?
Madam Chair, I could speak to that if you wish.
Yes, please.
The definition of a primary facade is that it's one or more principal facades. And that's an important piece, that it's a principal facade or elevation of a building with features that define the character of the building's architecture. So I would say it is really, staff makes a recommendation. It's really up to the board to make a determination as to which facades they feel capture features that should be preserved to preserve the character of the structure. If the board wishes to preserve that stepped massing, I would suggest that you capture perhaps the east elevation because it's more publicly visible. That would be my guess, but I'm not as familiar with the property as Daniel is. So perhaps Daniel can speak to public visibility, and to, which speaks to whether or not it's a principal base or elevation.
Daniel, did you wish to address the issue?
Well, Madam Chair, the driveway is located on the east side, and there's no fence on the east side. The east side is definitely more prominent and visible. There's a photo showing the west side. It's hidden behind probably a 6-foot high wooden fence. Yeah, that one. And there is that same stepping, but it's not as prominent as the east facade. Sorry, I didn't include a photo of the east facade. But if you look in your packet, page 6, you can see there's a photo from the southeast that shows the relative prominence of that facade along with the south facade.
Thank you for pointing that out, Daniel. And Member Benvenu, I do want to comment in reference to the simplicity of this building. This building is 92 years old, and I would venture to say that people probably built very simple buildings during that time. In many cases, they didn't have the revenue to build anything extravagant, just what their families could afford and accommodate with the size of their families. So simplicity is oftentimes a good character defining feature in my view.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Larson?
Yes, thank you. Just to add to that discussion, yes, I think that that when we're describing a vernacular type building type, that would be one of the criteria. I think in this case, since we do see minimal architectural details and features, more so than in a building that is defined by the simplicity and vernacular, like the typical vernacular type, where it's sort of a rectangular box-like shape. I think in this case, we're seeing a little bit more detail than that, even though it is still in that vernacular typology, and that should be noted. There is a little bit more definition, I would say.
Thank you. Anybody else for questions or comments? If not, if the applicant or applicants will get sworn in, please.
You swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
There's both of us, so I'll go first. So my name is Christina Purdy. I reside at 715 West Manhattan Avenue.
Hi, my name is Timothy Gonzalez Culbreth. I am, we're renting, but yeah, we own 715 West Manhattan.
Thank you.
Thank you. And they were both sworn in. Thank you very much. Both of you, do you agree with staff's recommendations?
Can you just relist the recommendations just so I'm clear on them?
The recommendation that staff indicated was that the south facade would be the primary facade, excluding the door and the windows.
Yes, we agree with the staff's recommendation.
Yes.
Okay, and that I do have to point out that may not be, the board may has the option to add other facades. Yes. And we'll see where they are going, okay? And okay. Let me see what questions the board members have at this time.
Okay.
Board members, questions for the applicants? Sorry if this is taking a bit of time.
No problem. Yeah, thank you all for looking at our house. We love the structure of it, which is why we purchased it, and it's such a beautiful house. So
yeah, I love those arches and the simplicity of the house, the low wall, the arches. You have that low wall so you can really see the arches.
Yes.
Yeah, Member Beachside.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask the applicant if they have any knowledge about the age of the yard wall in front.
So we talked to the previous owner whose family owned the lot starting in 1925. Her family purchased the property March 6, 1925. I think that was included in our original letter. And as of 1935, we actually have a photo which we can somehow share on this screen, on our screen.
Is that shown by any chance?
But there was not a yard wall present in 1935. So it must have been built after that, but I don't know exactly when it was built from there.
Is there a little fence in that photo or?
Yeah, it looks like a welded wire mesh fence.
Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
My favorite part is there's a Model T in the corner of that picture. Sorry.
Thank you. Member Larson, did you have something? Any other questions, board members? Member Katz.
Yes, I have a question. You've heard us just talking about that east facade and the step down parapet. What are your thoughts of having that also designated as a primary facade?
I mean, we were looking forward to take advantage of the flat roof to install solar panels beneath the parapet, and we're a teensy bit concerned that designating the side facade would cause some issues further down the road of getting the parapets leveled out, and therefore being able to keep the solar panels beneath and out of the view of the public on the roof.
Yeah, in terms of primary facade too, I also think that yes, it is visible from the easement alley driveway, but it's not terribly noted. Like the arresting part of the house, I really feel like is the south facing facade. It's the archways, it's the wall, it's the whole gravitas of the front of the house. I really don't feel like when I saw the house that I thought to myself, oh, the step downs are something that really draws me in and makes me feel like this is part of the Santa Fe style. But of course, you all are experts in this, and so I would defer to your judgment of what you think would be of historical significance in helping us to determine what sides should be significant in our house.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Member Katz, you have your hand up?
No, I'm finished. Sorry.
Any other questions or comments, board members? Okay, I will open it for public comment. Stephanie Benenato.
Hi, Stephanie Benenato. I definitely agree that the south facade should be primary. I do think that that a facade doesn't have to, or a characteristic or feature does not have to be special. It has to be characteristic, both of the building and of the neighborhood. And if you do look around in that neighborhood, in the larger neighborhood, you see a lot of this step down. And again, just because it's simple doesn't mean that it's not worth preserving. I would wonder if there was a way to, and I know this is designation of primary facades, but I wonder if there is a way that solar can be installed up on the roof and perhaps just some, what do I want to say? Not shading, but visual screening might be necessary, but still leave that step down. And as for the wall, I think that is actually character defining. And my concern is when we have these little walls and somebody, and I'm not saying these owners are going to do this, but owners then come in and they want a 4-foot wall, which they can get administratively. And I just have to say, again, I'm pointing out to East Santa Fe Avenue and Don Gaspar, where there are several buildings now that have 4-foot walls, and then they're connected into a coyote fencing, which was not at all typical there. There were low walls, and there were actually historic wire fencing on those properties. So I'm always concerned because leaving it vague allows change that then actually changes the character. And I'm just wondering if there may be some aerial photograph that could indicate that there was a wall there, say like 1960s. That's just my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. And there appears that there are no further public comments. I do want to tell the board that really we should not be delving in what can happen in the future, though in this instance, I do see what the applicant is saying in reference to solar panels, but this evening we are just dealing with primary facades, and we really should not be delving into what is or isn't going to be going to be changed on this house. In reference to the low wall, you know, the 50-year mark now is 1970, and I venture to say that that wall probably went up way before 1970. But Member Katz.
Yeah, my question is maybe for Lisa or the city attorney. In this district, you can put solar panels on a roof and not have to shield them, can't you?
Madam Chair, Member Katz, I'm not sure that it's appropriate for me to be speaking to that proposal during a status review case. But it's certainly something that we could, that can be accommodated in one way or another.
My concern is this, that I understand the sense that the step-down parapet is, you know, it's characteristic of this house and perhaps others. But if the choice is to, I don't know how we could then make an exception, having found that this is the characteristic that we love, that really is the basis for perhaps making that facade primary. And so do we really want to foreclose ourselves from building up the parapet to conceal solar panels rather than just to, because in this district, I do believe that you can have them visible. That's what I'm puzzling over.
Madam Chair, I can say this, that the board should be making a determination of primary facades based on what character they wish to preserve, yes. In terms of whether or not an exception would be needed to put publicly visible solar panels on the roof of this particular home, the choice would not be to allow them or not to allow them. The board could also choose to allow them to be publicly visible. And so I will not speak to whether or not an exception would be needed or whether the board can grant that an exception to raise the parapet, because again, we need to be focused on what character should be preserved on this particular home. But I can say that there will be a path towards solar panels if that is what the applicant wishes to do. And I'd be happy to advise the applicant further on that after this hearing.
Yeah, thank you. I again will caution the board, we are not supposed to address what can happen in the future. So right now we are addressing primary facades. Member Larson.
Yes, I think that we are all seeming to agree that the step-down parapet is an important feature to preserve. I would also say, not venturing too far, but that is something that can be preserved. I would say, even if it does have to be raised at some point, that geometry should be able to be repeated in the future without compromising that design.
Thank you. Member Beachside.
I just wanted to maybe ask staff or the city attorney, knowing from the photograph that the applicants presented that the yard wall has was originally low, could we designate the wall height as a character defining feature and a primary facade, but not necessarily the stucco material, since we're unsure of the date of those?
Madam Chair, if I may, I would advise that if the board wishes to include the wall in the contributing status of the home, that you just designate it as part of the contributing structure and not worry about whether the stucco should be included or not included. I think that if you feel that it creates a character defining feature based on its configuration and its attachment to the home, then make it contributing. That's what I would recommend.
Thank you, Lisa. I agree with that recommendation. Members, any other questions or comments?
Madam Chair, just a brief note on the materiality of the wall. It does say in the HCPI that it's a stuccoed masonry wall. It's not an adobe wall or some other kind of wall.
Thank you.
Adobe
To me,
is
the
masonry.
character defining feature on this wall is actually the height of it, that it's really low and that it allows you to see the beautiful porch that this house has. Okay, board members, any further questions or comments? If not, I will entertain a motion. And we have Member Guida.
Madam Chair, in case 2020-002-040 HDRB 715 Manhattan Avenue, I move that the board designate facade 1 as contributing per staff's recommendation, and more specifically that facade 1 include the porch with the arches, that it exclude the metal bars, and that it include the window and door openings in the facades, but not the windows and doors themselves. I move also that the board articulate that the low, approximately 3-foot yard wall is included as a character defining feature.
Thank you. Member Larson?
I will second.
Voice vote, please.
Yes, Member Beachside,
Yes.
Member Bonvenu,
Yes.
Member Guida,
Yes.
Vice Chair Katz,
Yes.
Member Larson.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you, and good luck to you.
Madam Chair,
Thank you.
may I just ask for clarification on the wording of that motion before we move on to the next case? Just for clarity. I just want to be sure that we're designating facade 1 as primary, not as contributing, and that the yard wall is contributing, not character defining. Is that accurate?
That
I
is
believe so. Correct, Member Guida?
correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. The last case on our agenda this evening is case 2020-002-011, located at 633 Gomez Road. And staff, may we have that report, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. 633 Gomez is a Spanish Pueblo Revival single-family house designated as contributing to the Don Gaspar Historic District. For this application, the applicant requests the designation of primary facades in advance of an application for remodel. The original portion of the house was built by 1940 with 16-inch thick adobe walls and a rectangular footprint. There is an historic addition from an unknown date on the north end of the house, which frames an L-shaped patio in the northwest corner. The structure was restuccoed in 2016. The house has a portal on the southwest corner, facades 8 and 1, which is publicly visible. Originally, the portal extended further to the north, but half of it was enclosed at an unknown historic date. If you scroll down, you should see photos of those facades. Thank you. The portal contains a historic stuccoed post which forms an archway to the south, facade 1. A flat roof with rounded parapets which are stepped down toward the porch, and a historic yard wall at the corner. The following slide should also show that. The front door and window are non-historic, but are set deeply 14 to 15 inches into the historic adobe wall. The glass block window on facade 8 replaced a divided light window in 2005. Facade 2 is publicly visible. It has massing that is character defining and historic, with a short stuccoed chimney at the east corner. It also contains one deeply set aluminum clad divided light window from 2015, the original punched opening. While the window has character, it is not historic. Facade 3 is not publicly visible. It can be described as a simple stuccoed wall expanse with 3 historic single pane true divided light windows. An addition has been made on the north side of the house, facades 3, 4, and 5. Despite this, the HCPI from 1995 states that the overall structure maintains a high degree of integrity. On the north addition and on facade 3, the windows are historic single pane true divided light windows. Facade 4 has a non-historic French door. Facade 5 has a historic single pane true divided light window, and facade 6 has 2 non-historic aluminum windows. Facade 7 is publicly visible and has a non-historic door and a non-historic window with imitation muntins that are not character defining. Staff recommendation: staff recommends that the south and west facades 1, 2, 7, and 8, with their publicly visible thick adobe walls and the corner portal be designated as primary, but due to the loss of historic windows, that the windows be excluded from the primary facade designation. And I stand for questions.
Thank you, Daniel. I did notice that, well, okay, first of all, this application is in the Don Gaspar Historic District. And I did notice that the relevant code citations were, I guess, the West Side Guadalupe Historic District citations were inadvertently placed in the packet.
Okay, sorry about that.
So I don't know how that happened, but it happened.
That was an oversight, sorry.
They are
Board
essentially the
members, do
same,
you have
Madam Chair.
questions? Yes.
They are essentially the same, Madam Chair.
Oh, they are. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Any questions, board members? Or Daniel at this time? Member Beachside.
Thank you. Are we considering the garage in this application?
No,
Daniel?
we're just assigning primary facades at this in this application, so the the garage is not being. There's no application being made for primary facades on the garage.
But Daniel, question is, do you know whether the garage is contributing at this time?
I would have to look. I don't think it is included as part of the contributing structure.
Okay, but we're not positive of the age of it?
Not off the top of my head. I can see if it is in the HCPI if there are details.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Daniel at this time? If not, applicant or applicants, would you get sworn in, please?
Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Mr. J? I believe he's muted.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, just a minute. No, I got the mic.
Okay, perfect. We can hear you now.
Oh, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, if you, yes, go ahead, Mr. J. What do you have to tell us about this project? And do you agree or disagree with staff's recommendations? For
It's
primary
probably the best
facade?
project that's been, will happen in Santa Fe.
Mr.
That's
Jake,
number one. That's number one. Number two,
Would you repeat that, please? I'm sorry.
I think this will be one of the better projects, hopefully approved in Santa Fe, the city of Santa Fe.
Oh, okay, and go ahead with your number 2.
Now, are you interested in the garage? I have some information on it.
Yes, what do you have to tell us about the garage?
It's a one-car garage. It has a non-historic overhead door, electric. Okay. There is a small room behind the garage, which they call a studio. And the material of the garage is concrete block. So my assumption is I don't think it's, historic. Usually concrete block was done after this building was built, which is adobe. So that's my understanding. That's all I know about the garage. I've seen photos. I have an aerial from 1967, which shows the garage, the house, and the walls surrounding the property as existing. So at least it shows it in 1967. I don't know before that.
Okay, thank you. Yes, member Byers? I mean, a stenographer Byers, sorry.
Madam Chair, I didn't hear Mr. J respond when I swore him in, and nor did he say his full name and address for the record.
Can you repeat that?
Yes, Mr. J,
Swore you in?
Yeah, I swore you in, but I didn't hear your response. Did you hear me swear you in?
Yeah, I'm sworn in, and
You have
I
to state your name and your address.
Robert J, 633 Gomez Road, Santa Fe, 87505.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me see, board members, do you have questions of Mr. J? Let me see if anybody has any. Did you have something further, Melissa? Your hand is raised.
Oh, no, ma'am, I'm sorry about that.
Okay, that's okay.
Madam Chair, may I just make a comment?
Yes, Lisa.
About the garage? I would suggest about the garage, if it is on a 1967 aerial that the applicant has attested to, that it is historic, but we do not know its status right now. So the board should not designate primary facades on a building for which we don't know the status.
I totally agree with that. And it's not part of this application at this time. And perhaps that should come to us at a later time. Board members, questions? Let me see, it appears that we do not have questions from the board at this time. Since we don't have any questions from the board, I will ask for public comment at this time. Anybody for public comment? It appears that Stephanie Benedetto has something to say.
Hello, this is one of the faster board meetings, I have to say. I agree with staff's recommendations of the primary facades on this building. And I think it is clear that the garage at least is historic, if not contributing. And so I think just so that the applicant would be clear that if they wanted to do something to that garage, they would have to come back and get a status and designate primary facades. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. And that is true. The garage could be historic, doesn't mean that it's contributing at this time. It has no, as far as we know, nothing was presented to us that states that it was contributing. So that is true. If you want to do anything to it, applicant, you do need to bring it before the board. Board members, yes, sir.
No, we have no proposed plans to do anything to the garage.
Okay, thank you. But if you do, that would need to come before us. Mr. Benvenu, member Benvenu. You have the floor. John?
I was going to make a motion if there's no further discussion.
Okay, thank you very much. Go right ahead. If there's, I'll ask board members. No further discussion? It appears not. Go ahead.
In case number 2020-002011, 633 Gomez Road, I move that based on the record and staff's recommendation, the facades 1, 2, 7, and 8 be designated as primary with the exclusion of the windows.
Member Larson.
I'll second.
Thank you. Voice vote, please.
Yes, Member Beachside,
Yes.
Member Buenvenu,
Yes.
Member Guida,
Yes.
Vice Chair Katz,
Yes.
Member Larson.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you very much, Melissa, and thank you very much, applicant.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You as well. Any matters from the board? Is Sally here this evening? That does not look like
Chair.
Sally to me. That looks like
Madam
Melissa.
Chair, no,
Liz.
Madam Chair, Sally is not present this evening. We have.
Oh, okay. I had a
the
question
Attorney's
for,
office.
I had a question for an attorney, but it had to do with field trips. I think the last time she indicated that, am I incorrect in stating this? That we could do field trips if it was advertised? Individual field trips? Is that correct or incorrect? Do you know, Lisa?
Madam Chair, I believe further discussion is needed on that particular topic. There's a lot of different factors involved with doing a field trip. There was some discussion about doing a caravan style field trip, which would be acceptable, I believe, legally, but logistically, bringing 8 to 10 cars down some of the tiny streets in the east side and other districts would be rather challenging. We do need to have further discussion about it.
Yeah, I was thinking more about individual field trips and.
She did say that individual field trips are not allowable.
Yeah, and that's, so I thought that they would be allowed if it was advertised, but evidently not.
No, the time and date has to be advertised and the public has to be able to join in some fashion. So that's the challenge. There, technically, if we need a discussion about it, probably.
Yeah, because I'm having a difficult time of understanding in my mind of why we couldn't do it, because it's just one person looking at a project at one time, and if it's advertised, I mean, you're not having a discussion with anyone except yourself.
Madam Chair, I'll follow up with you individually and we can talk to
Lisa.
Sally. Yes, thanks. And Sally's out of
Board
town this
members,
week.
anything else? If nothing else, we are adjourned, and thank you all very much. Appreciate each and every one of you. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye.
Okay, good
Thank you.
night.
Good night.
Thank you.